Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Welcome to our Tafseer lesson, Surah Al-Baqarah, from verse 256. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا إكراه في الدين. Let there be no compulsion in religion. قد تبين الرشد من الغي. Truth stands out clear from error. فمن يكفر بالطاغوت ويؤمن بالله فقد استمسك بالعروة الوثقى. Whoever rejects evil and believes in Allah has grasped the most trustworthy handhold that never breaks. لا انفصام لها والله سميع عليم. That never breaks, and Allah hears and knows all things. Now this ayah, which comes just after the Ayatul Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, that was explained in our previous lesson. And after that comes this ayah, which begins with La ikraha fid din. There is no compulsion in the matter of religion. So, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us by Ayatul Kursi to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, about which all, or about whom all the signs of Allah, all the signs in the universe, all of them, they lead to Him. Every person who is intellectual, he should be led to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without any force, without any compulsion at all. Because the evidences about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are so clear that you don't need anything else. So here comes this question after that. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala so explicit is the evidence about Him, then could someone be forced to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The answer comes no. La ikraha fid din. There is no compulsion in the matter of religion. Because this world is created for the human beings to be a world of trial. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed all His evidences about the oneness of Allah. So a person should come with all willingness by himself. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted, He could have forced everyone to believe in Allah. It is very clear in many ayats that if Allah wanted to guide all the mankind, وَلَوْ شَاءَ رَبُّكَ لَآمَنَ مَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كُلِّهِمْ جَمِيعًا أَفَأَنْتَ تُكْرِهُ النَّاسَ حَتَّى يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. That another ayah of Surah Yunus 99. If your Lord wanted, everyone who is in this earth would have believed in Him. أَفَأَنْتَ تُكْرِهُ النَّاسَ حَتَّى يَكُونُوا مُؤْمِنِينَ. Are you going to force the people so they become believers? Let us here be very clear that there are two things. One is forcing someone to enter into the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is not allowed. That is the meaning of this ayah, La ikraha fid din. But once you enter into the deen, then of course we have accepted it willingly. You know that what are the requirements of this deen. The basic 5 things like shahada, 5 times prayer a day, fasting in the month of Ramadan, paying zakat, going for Hajj once in your lifetime. These are all the requirements of this deen. So you have to do them. You have to carry out them. This is just like if a person joins any system. Say if he joins an army, of course we can say that no one is forced to join the army. But once he joins the army, he is going to follow the rules. He can't say that now I am free to carry out the commandments of my commander. No, that is not the case. You have to listen to him. You have to obey him. So here there is the difference between the two. No compulsion in entering into the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why we know that the practice of Islam is those countries or those empires who have been conquered by the Muslims right in the beginning of Islam during the time of Caliphate, like the Romans. It was very clear that if you want to enter into Islam, we welcome you. If you don't, then you have just to pay a jizya amount. So jizya was accepted from them. If there was a force to let them enter into Islam, then there was no need for jizya at all. And we have such type of incidents as well, as narrated by Abdullah ibn Abbas, that in Jahiliyyah, in Medina, there was such type of people, like a woman who gives birth to a child, but the child dies in infancy. And then the second time she delivers a babe, and that dies in infancy. So it means that this woman, no one of his child survives. So such a woman says, vows that if any child lives among his children, then she is going to turn him into a Jew. So this is how some children, because of these vows, they were brought up as Jews. What happened that there used to be 3 tribes in Al-Madinah, as we know, Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza. And Banu Qaynuqa, they have to, after they have broken the pledge with the Prophet ﷺ, they have to leave Al-Madinah. Same thing happens to Banu Nadir. They have been besieged after they broke the pledge with the Prophet. And after a siege of around 20-21 days, they were allowed to leave Al-Madinah towards Khaybar. So among them were these children who became Jews. And as Jews, they are going to leave Al-Madinah as well with the other Jews. So their fathers came to the Prophet ﷺ, and they said that these are our children. We can't let them go. They will turn back into Islam. And then it is said that this ayah was revealed, La ikraha fid din. No compulsion in the matter of religion. So that is really the case is. In the same way, another person from Ansar, whose 2 sons became Christians once they went to Syria, and they knew about Christianity there. So when they came back, and at one point they wanted to leave Al-Madinah as well, their fathers, they wanted them back into Islam. But our Prophet ﷺ said to them, La ikraha fid din. There is no force to be applied to let them turn back into Islam. Now here may be a case of such a person. That person does not like Islam. He is willing to become Muslim, but still in his heart, Islam is not penetrated. That is the hadith of Anas radiallahu ta'ala an, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked someone to become Muslim. Just be sure here that he did not force him to become Muslim. He invited him to Islam. He said, Inni ajiduni karihan. I find myself despising Islam or disliking Islam. So the Prophet said, in kunta karihan, even if you are disliking, Allah is going to make it beloved to you. So that was the dua of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ still encouraging him to enter into Islam. So he entered. So this entrance was willingly. There was no force at all. Now let us move to the second part of this ayah. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. Rushd, that is the guidance, that is the truth. Truth stands out clear from error. قَدْ تَبَيَّنَ الرُّشْدُ مِنَ الْغَيِّ. As we have said before, that all the evidences about Islam, about the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are so clear that if you think about them with a sound mind, the truth will be obvious to you, will be very, very clear to you. If your nature is sound, nature is good, there is no istikbar, there is no arrogance, then you are going to accept the truth. And this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, that only such people who got arrogance in their nature, they are the one. They see the evidences and then they don't accept Islam. Surah Araf, verse 146. سأصرف عن آياتي الذين يتكبرون في الأرض بغير الحق وإن يروا كل آية لا يؤمنوا بها وإن يروا سبيل الرشد لا يتخذوه سبيلا وإن يروا سبيل الغي يتخذوه سبيلا ذلك بأنهم كذبوا بآياتنا وكانوا عنها غافلين. I'm going to turn away from my ayat, from my signs, those people who show arrogance in the land without any justice. Even if they see each and every sign, they don't believe. Even if they see the way of guidance very clear, they are not going to take it as their way. But if they see the way of error, the way of misguidance, they are going to flock to it and take it as their own way. Why? Because these people, they have rejected our ayats and they were totally unconcerned about these ayats. So that is the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third part of this ayah is فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْعُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى. The person who rejects Taghut, believes in Allah, he is the one who has grasped the most trustworthy handhold, لَنْ فِصَامَ لَهَا, which got no break at all. وَاللَّهُ السَّمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. And Allah is the one who knows all things. He listens to everything. Now here in this ayah, it is said that leaving the deities behind. At-Taghut is coming from the Arabic word tagha, which means transgress. The person who is not following the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is a transgressor. So here it says, فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ, the person who rejects Taghut. So Taghut are all those things which are worshipped beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether they are idols, whether they are human beings, whether they are angels, if they are declared as gods, then for these people who are doing it, it becomes Taghut. They are doing something which is Taghut. فَمَنْ يَكْفُرْ بِالطَّاغُوتِ, the person who rejects Taghut, وَيُؤْمِنْ بِاللَّهِ, and he comes to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, فَقَدْ اسْتَمْسَكَ بِالْأُرْوَةِ الْوُثْقَى, he has grasped a very strong handhold. Al-Urwatul Wusqa. Have you seen a person climbing into the mountains? Normally what they do, they got a very strong rope, which when they throw it and it is stuck somewhere in the mountain, and they are sure that it is not going to shake easily, they start climbing by holding that rope. So this rope at that time is the strong handhold which they got. This is Al-Urwatul Wusqa. It means that they are saved as long as they are taking hold of that rope. Al-Islam is that rope. Deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that rope. As long as you stick to that rope, you are safe. Lan fisama laha, there is no break into it. Wallahu sami'un alim, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala listens and He knows. So this word at-taghut, faman yakfur bit-taghut, normally it is a masculine word wherever it is used in the Quran, except in Surah Zumar, ayah number 17, where it says, وَالَّذِينَ اجْتَنَبُوا الطَّاغُوتَ أَنْ يَعْبُدُوهَا وَأَنَابُوا إِلَى اللَّهِ لَهُمُ الْبُشْرَى فَبَشِّرْ عِبَادٍ. Those who keep away from Taghut, أَنْ يَعْبُدُوهَا, they keep away from it, from worshipping it. So here the pronoun is ha, ya'buduha, which is feminine and which is used for at-taghut. So here we can say that it means at-tariqah, the way. At-tariqah in Arabic, that is a feminine word. So at-taghut, any tariqah, any way which is not approved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is a transgression, that is taghut. So those people who keep away from such taghut, they don't worship it, they turn back to Allah. Lahumul bushra fabashshir ibad. For them is glad tidings. So give these glad tidings to my people. So the one who hearkens to this voice of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is on the right path, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything, knows the sincerity of that person. He listens to his dua as well. That was the ayah which came just after Ayatul Kursi. Next ayah is ayah number 257. الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور. Allah is the protector of those who have faith. From the depths of darkness, He will lead them forth into light. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ يُخْرِجُونَهُم مِّنَ النُّورِ إِلَى الظُّلُمَاتِ. Of those who reject faith, the patrons or the evil ones, from light, they will lead them forth into the depths of darkness. أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون. They will be companions of the fire, to dwell therein forever. الله ولي الذين آمنوا يخرجهم من الظلمات إلى النور. Once you enter into Islam, Allah becomes your protector. The word wali got so many meanings. So we have to see which meaning is understandable here according to the context. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is wali. Wali means a friend as well. Wali means supporter. Wali means protector. So here, the meaning protector, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who protects. Once you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He becomes your wali, your protector. يُخْرِجُهُم مِّنَ الظُّلُمَاتِ إِلَى النُّورِ. He brings them out of the darknesses to the light. We see that wherever the word nur comes, it is singular. And wherever zulumat comes, it is plural. Why? Because light is one. Allahu nur as-samawati wal ard. Allah is the light of the heaven and the earth. On the other hand, zulumat are the darknesses. There are many. The darkness, you start from the smaller things, the darkness of bid'ah, the darkness of sin, the darkness of shirk, that is something bigger, darkness of kufr, that is also something bigger. So there are many darknesses. Even if a person who is in a state of forgetfulness, ghaflah, he is also in darkness. The person who is in doubts about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is in darkness. So because darknesses are many, this is why the word al-zulumat comes in plural wherever it comes in the Qur'an. So Allah is the one who brings the people out of that darknesses to the light. And this is because of Iman, because of Islam. So if Allah is the protector of the believers, what about the kuffar people who reject the faith? Of course, all other forces which are against worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are known as taghut, they become their protector. وَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَوْلِيَاؤُهُمُ الطَّاغُوتُ. Those people who rejected the faith, their wali become the taghut, all the evil ones. But what type of protection they would give them? يُخْرِجُونَهُم مِّنَ النُّورِ إِلَى الظُّلُمَاتِ. They will bring them from light to the darknesses, because that is their function, that is their mission. Shaitan or Satan is one of them. أُولَٰئِكَ أَصْحَابُ النَّارِ هُمْ فِيهَا خَالِدُونَ. They are the people of the fire, and they are going to remain there forever. So let us once again say that as the light is one, the path of that light, which is as-siratul mustaqim, that is one as well. In Surah Al-An'am 153 verse, وَأَنَّ هَذَا صِرَاطِي مُسْتَقِيمًا فَاتَّبِعُوهُ وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا السُّبُلَ فَتَفَرَّقَ بِكُمْ عَنْ سَبِيلِهِ ذَلِكُمْ وَصَّاكُمْ بِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. This is my path, which is straightforward, so follow it. Don't follow a subul, ways in plural, different ways. As we have said, darkness got so many shapes and forms. Don't follow different ways, because they are going to let you deviate from the right paths, from the path of Allah. This is a wasiyah. This is a guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Just to make them, just to let them beware, let them keep away from the bad consequences of your actions. Allahu waliyul ladina aman. Allah is the protector of those people who are believer. Believer is coming here like just one group, one part. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to help them love them, respond to their dua. Before Iman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided us with all His signs towards Iman, towards Islam. And once we enter into Islam, now He is with us with help, with support. And in the end, when we are going to enter into the hereafter, then He is going to lead us into Al-Jannah. In the same way, those people who rejected the faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are known to be one millah, and that is millatul kufr. The millah are the people who have rejected the faith, so they become just one millah. As Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam, when he was in Egypt, in the prison, and then the interesting story with two inmates, and he started, before giving them the interpretation of their dreams, he said to them, Inni taraktu millata qawmin la yu'minuna billah wa hum bil akhirati hum kafirun. I have abandoned millah, the people of such people, those who don't believe in Allah. Wa hum bil akhirati hum kafirun. And they are the one who reject faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So here we can have this contrast, a contrasting pictures. Light and darkness. Light where you got everything clear to you. Light where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is your supporter, your wali, your protector, your master. Darkness where there are Satans, false idols, all misleading you to further darkness and then leading you to the hellfire. So here we can say that there is a discussion about Ayatul Kursi, Iman, Islam. And after that, from verse number 258, there are three examples which are given. One example is of that of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, with the tyrant, the ruler of Babylonia, Iraq, Nimrod. The second example is another Nabi, we are going to discuss about his name later, who was cast to die for 100 years because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show him how the resurrection is going to take place. And then comes the third example, which is the example of Sayyidina Ibrahim once again, when he wanted to see that how Allah gives life to the dead. So these three examples which are coming after this ayah, the ayah which speaks about Allah who is the wali of the believers. And in contrast, all those idol worshippers, they got no protector except the idols themselves, but they are not going to protect them. So by these three examples, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has established the fact that once you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are going to be protected. Allah will provide you with arguments as well. And those people who are on the path of error, they will have no evidence at all. In the very same way, what Qur'an has told us about the resurrection and giving life to the dead, the other two examples are about that fact of life. So let us move to verse number 258. ألم تر إلى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه أن آتاه الله الملك إذ قال إبراهيم ربي الذي يحيي ويميت قال أنا أحيي وأميت. Hast thou not turned thy vision to one who disputed with Abraham about his Lord, because Allah had granted him power? Abraham said, my Lord is he who gives life and death. He said, I give life and death. قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأت بها من المغرب فبهت الذي كفر والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين. Abraham said, but it is Allah that causeth the sun to rise from the east. Do thou then cause him to rise from the west. Thus was he confounded, who in arrogance rejected faith, nor does Allah give guidance to a people unjust. So here is the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam and his arguments with Nimrod, or the king of Babylonia. Now here, what is the story? We know that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was had to go through a very big trial. He was thrown into the fire. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made this fire cool down upon him. And he was saved. After that, this incident happened. Sayyidina Ibrahim went to the court of Nimrod, of course, inviting him to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, telling him that you are not the Rabb. The Rabb is Allah. Nimrod is not going to be convinced so easily, because he was one of the strongest king at that time. That is one thing. And secondly, he is arrogant. He is arrogant. It is said that, as narrated by Mujahid, one of the Tabi'in successors, there were 4 persons, 2 of them believers, 2 of them non-believers, who got the rule of a great part of the world. We can't say the entire world, but a great part of the world. The 2 kuffar one, there was that was Nimrod and Bukhtunussar, which in English is known as Nebuchadnezzar, the one who invaded Jerusalem. He was also the king of Babylonia. And the 2 believers one, Sayyidina Sulaiman alayhi salam and Zulqarnain, whose story is given in Surah Al-Kahf. So Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam came to the king, and then he got this argument with him. It is also said that Sayyidina Ibrahim expected, as he was a king, to give him enough food for him and for his family. But he did not give anything. His wife is waiting for that food, for the grains which Sayyidina Ibrahim is going to bring with him. Ibrahim alayhi salam went back. He got 2 bags with him. He filled them with sand and then brought them home and left them with his wife. Sayyidina Ibrahim just wanted to let her a bit satisfied that I had brought something for you. And then he went to his room, he slept. Once he woke up and he was invited for the feast, there was a very good, delicious meal prepared by Sarah, how this happened. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned that sand into the real food, real grains. Anyhow, this is a report which comes by Abdul Razak from his teacher Ma'mar, and he relates it from Zayd ibn Aslam. So what was this argument of Sayyidina Ibrahim with Nimrod when he said that believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? He asked Sayyidina Ibrahim, who is your Lord? What is his character? Ibrahim alayhi salam said, Rabbi alladhi yuhyi wa yumeet. My Rabb is the one who gives life, who gives death. Nimrod, because he was an arrogant person, he wanted to show that he got this power as well. He said, what is difficult? It is something very easy for me. There were two prisoners condemned to death, condemned to the penalty of death for some reasons. He brought them, and then he pardoned one of them, saying that I am going to give him life. And he executed the other one, saying that I got the power to cause someone to die. Now Sayyidina Ibrahim could have argued further with him that this is not giving life or giving death. Giving life means that how a child is born. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives life to the human beings. In the very same way, the death which comes on the hand of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala whenever he wants someone to come back to him. But he knew that he is not going to listen to such type of arguments. So he brought another argument which was quite difficult for him to carry out. So Sayyidina Ibrahim straight away said to him, my Lord, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he brings the sun from the east. So if you are Lord, then bring it from the west. That was something, of course, impossible for him to do. This is why it is said, فَبُهِتَ الَّذِي كَفَرَ. The rejected one became confounded here. He got no answer at all. وَاللَّهُ لَا يَهْدِي الْقَوْمَ الظَّالِمِينَ. And this shows that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the wrongdoers. So what we said in the last ayah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the protector of the believers. How he protected Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam when he was thrown into the fire. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided him to the right argument in face of the most silent person at that time, that was Nimrod, with this argument. On the other hand, Nimrod was among the unjust people of Walimin, and this is how he was not guided. Why? Because he did not like to come to the paths of guidance at all. Now here, before we move to the next ayah, right in the beginning it is said, Alam Tara, did not you see? Alam Tara. Now this type of address, which is based upon ru'ya. Ru'ya means to see something. And we have explained it in our previous lessons as well, that the word ru'ya, ra'a, which means to see and to know as well. Sometimes you don't see some events happening in front of you, but you know about it. You have been told about it. You have read it in the history books. Because it is so certain that event has happened, and it is so certain that even the word tara is used here. Alam tara, did not you see? Just like this short surah, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. Did not you see what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Rabb, has done with the companions of the elephant? And this incident of the companions of the elephant, Abraha who came from Yemen to destroy Al-Kaaba. That happened that year in which our Prophet ﷺ was born. So when Quran was revealed, there were no people who could remember or who could be alive there who have seen this incident. But still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil, because it was sure, it happened. So that was a note about this word Alam tara. Now let us come to the next ayah, which is 259. أو كالذي مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها. Or take the similitude of one who passed by a hamlet, all in ruins. قال أنى يحيي هذه الله بعد موتها. He said, oh, how shall Allah bring it ever to life after its death? فأماته الله 100 عام ثم بعثه. But Allah caused him to die for 100 years, then raised him up once again. قال كم لبثت؟ قال لبثت يوما أو بعض يوم. He said, how long did thou tarry thus? He said, perhaps a day or part of a day. قال بل لبثت 100 عام فانظر إلى طعامك وشرابك لم يتسنه. He said, nay, thou hast tarried thus 100 years, but look at thy food and thy drink. They show no signs of age. وانظر إلى حمارك ولنجعلك آية للناس. And look at thy donkey, and that we may make of those a sign unto the people. وانظر إلى العظام كيف ننشزها. Look further at the bones, how we bring them together. ثم نكسوها لحما. And clothe them with flesh. فلما تبين له قال أعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. When this was shown clearly to him, he said, I know that Allah has power over all things. As we said that there were 3 examples. Now, this is the second example, which is mainly about the issue of resurrection, which was denied by the people of Arabia. If someone dies, how he is going to be resurrected once again? If someone is dead, how could he had a life once again? That was the bone of contention with them. So here comes a sign from the past history. It is about someone. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not give the name. Why? Because the main thing is the lesson itself. That someone has died and he has seen a town which has been ruined completely. And he thought that this town is not going to have a life once again. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show him that it could happen. The very same person was caused to die with his donkey beside him, with his food left with him, and then he remains in that situation for 100 years. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings him to life once again. Not only he is alive, he would see that the food which was with him, according to some reports, it was grapes, figs, and some juice. The grape was not spoiled at all. The fig did not become saltish. The juice did not change at all. And as far as the donkey, which in the matter of the donkey, he could see that it has been totally rotted. It was just rotten bones. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made these bones once again join together, got flesh upon it. And then he could see that donkey standing upon his feet. That was the example of resurrection. أَوْ كَالَّذِي مَرَّ عَلَى قَرْيَةٍ, or the example of that person who passed by a town which is Jerusalem. It is said in some of the narrations that this person was Nabi Uzair. In Bible, he is known as Azra. In Quran, Uzair. And some others says that he might be Armiyah, another prophet, which is also known in Bible. And some others says that it is Hizqeel in Bible, Ezekiel. All three names are given. But because to Hizqeel or Ezekiel, a vision has been attributed in Bible of very same nature. This is why we can say that it might be the case of Hizqeel, the Nabi Hizqeel. And we know that in the Jewish history, Baitul Muqaddas was attacked and devastated by Nabucodonosor, which we have mentioned before. In Arabic is known as Bukhtunussar. That was around 586 BC before Christ. So it was totally devastated. No building was spared. The temple of Solomon was totally destroyed completely. So when Nabi Hizqeel passed by that town, and it can see the town that all the roofs of the houses, they collapsed. Because normally, if a house is destroyed, the roof is going to collapse first. And then the walls will be falling above it. وَهِيَ خَاوِيَةٌ عَلَى أُرُوشِهَا. And all the buildings in that towns, they were ruined, flat upon their roofs. And then he said, قَالَ أَنَّا يُحْيِي هَذِهِ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا. He said that, can Allah give life to such a town which is totally destroyed completely? Can He give it a life once again? So that was what he said. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to give him this knowledge about giving life to the dead. So what happened? When he said these words, فَأَمَاتَهُ اللَّهُ مِئَةَ عَامٍ ثُمَّ بَعْثَ. So Allah made him die for 100 years. It is said that after 100 years, around 458 BC, this is about 102 years, his resurrection took place. And by that time, the Jews have already been brought back to Jerusalem by King Cyrus of Persia, and they have built their second temple, and they started a new life. Now, what happened to Hizqeel? He was passing by that town when he said these words. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused him to die at that time. He was riding a donkey, so that donkey was beside him. He got some food, which we have already mentioned. That was beside him as well. So after 100 years, when he got up once again, And then this type of conversation took place. He could have said to himself, and how much time we have been sleeping? And the answer in his mind is labistu yawman aw ba'da yawm, either a day or a part of the day. But when he knew about the fact that it is not the same year, 100 years have passed. This is how he come to know that 100 years have passed. It is quite possible that when he got up, he must have walked, he must have asked the people, and this is how the reality was shown to him that he was dead for 100 years. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now saying to him that you were doubtful about the matter of resurrection. Now see, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as far as the food is concerned, even 100 years have passed upon that food, but food did not change at all. For the food, it remains as it was. But as far the donkey is concerned, yes, the donkey was totally spoiled completely, disintegrated. And then he could see that how this dead donkey had come to life once again. How the flesh started growing upon the bones. How the dead donkey could stand upon its feet. Because this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show him. So there are two things which he has witnessed. As for food, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not make the time to spoil them at all. But as for the life, I mean the donkey here, the time, because of that time, the body was completely destroyed. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave life once again. And as far as he himself was concerned, he remained dead for 100 years, and then Allah gave him life once again. This is why it is said that as a part of a quiz, that who was that Nabi whose son was 100 years old and he himself was just 50 years old. Of course, you could have this answer, because if the son lived for 100 years since that time when Sayyidina Uzair disappeared, so he was 100 years old. But because Uzair at that time, Sayyidina Hizqeel at that time was 50 years old, so his age was still 50 when his son was 100 years old. So this is this was the second example. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one who is muhyi, who gives the life. Mumeet is the one who gives the deaths. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-qabid, the container. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-basit, is the expander. So he can retain something in the very same condition. It remains for hundreds of years. And if he tries to expand something, he would expand it. This is how we can say that in these ayat, in these two examples, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has explained how he becomes a supporter. Allahu waliyul ladina amanu yukhrijuhum min al-dhulumati ila an-nur. And on the other hand, those people who are the rejectors of the faith, they guide the people to that darkness in which they live, and they are still living. Inshallah, we are going to discuss about our third example in our next lesson, which is once again the example of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam, when he said, "O Allah, Rabbi arini kayfa tuhyi al-mawta," how you give life to the dead. That would be our next lesson, inshallah. Sallallahu ta'ala ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.